This is ATN Global News. First, Christ Compassion Crusade, hashtag This is Selfless Love, promises life transformation. National Police denies report of kidnapping at St. Peter's Academy. Vice President Josh Chetima departs for G20 summit in South Africa. CBN calls for careful naira use during festive season. And ECOWAS sounds alarm over growing West Africa terrorism. Mikel Arteta confirms Gabriel out for several weeks. Actress Toyin Abraham voices concern over Nigeria's growing insecurity. Port Harcourt is gearing up for the 2025 Crusade themed hashtag This is Selfless Love, happening from Monday, November 24 to Saturday, November 29, 2025. Organized by Christ Compassion to the Rural World, the event promises miracles, life transformation, and unity among churches across the city and beyond. Speaking to ATN News after a guest appearance on Wish FM 99.5, Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo, founder and president of the ministry, said attendees should come expectant, ready to experience God's power and blessings. He assured that Port
When we held CCIW Crusade in Ikorodu, the whole city testified that it was never the same anymore. When we held the same crusade in Ibadan, it redefined crusades, it redefined how things were done. The people were blessed beyond measure. In fact, when we closed Ibadan Crusade, 1,000 people or 2,000 people still showed up on the Sunday thinking we were still there. At the end of this crusade, there will be unusual healings, miracles, testimonies, deliverances, favors beyond measure. Then people will find that truly what we said we're going to do, what we said we're going to give them, will happen. I have a conviction that there's a special grace on Port Harcourt, that even before the crusade, we've already done 200 surgeries. And by the end of this crusade, we'll be carrying out 1,000 surgeries. So I'm convinced that Port Harcourt is in for a blessing beyond measure. We look forward, and this crusade will be a landmark, God-glorifying, devil-defeating crusade.
Abia State government has cautioned residents against engaging the services of middlemen when applying for certificates of occupancy to avoid being duped. The state also said it has stepped up enforcement on land use following the expiration of the waiver granted by Governor Alex Oti to property owners in 2023 and 2024. The Commissioner for Lands, Chaka Chukwumerije, who disputed this in Umuahia on Thursday, advised the public to visit the Ministry of Lands for genuine and official services and not rely on middlemen. Chukwumerije, who flagged off the second phase of public sensitization on obtaining C of O in 30 days, disclosed that multiple allocations of certificates were given to different persons for a single land during previous administrations, but this is being addressed by the present administration. He also revealed that the state government has recovered and regularized some public servants and industrial layouts which were not developed after their allocations, including estates acquired during the administration of Okwabi, Asika-led East Central State. On compensation to landowners, the commissioner said that the state government has paid fair compensation to owners of acquired lands in various parts of the state, despite the 1978 Land Use Act vesting control of land in the hands of the state. He, however, said that the process is ongoing to resolve issues from any landowner who has not received compensation. Anambra State Police Command has arrested a 25-year-old man, Friday Anyikame, described as a suspected member of a proscribed secessionist group during an early morning intelligence-led operation in the Ihiala local government area of the state. In a statement on Friday, the state public The state police public relations officer, SP Tochukwu Ikenga, said operatives of the Rapid Response Squad, Akuzu, apprehended the suspect and recovered 2 pump-action firearms and 29 live cartridges. Ikenga said the arrest followed heightened security surveillance and raid operations ordered by the Commissioner of Police, CP Ikoye Orutugu. Across the state, Ikenga added that the CP, while commending the operatives for their swift and coordinated action, ordered an immediate intensification of security surveillance and targeted raid operations across the state. He quoted the CP as assuring residents that the command was closing in on other fleeing members of the gang and determined to dismantle their criminal network in Abuja. He urged residents to remain vigilant and continue to provide the police with timely and actionable information to support ongoing operations. A10 reported in October that the Anambra State Police Command arrested another suspected member and alleged informant of a secessionist group, 62-year-old Bernard Odin Chefu, who was said to be coordinating a major extortion network in parts of Ihiala local government area. Ogun State Police Command has reassured residents of Ajebo community in Obafemi Owode local government area that there is no imminent threat of attack following a viral video circulating on social media suggesting that herdsmen were preparing to unleash violence on the host community. The spokesperson of the State Police Command, CSP Omolola Odutola, disclosed this in a statement made available to journalists on Friday. Responding to the viral video, the Commissioner of Police, Larry Ogunlowo, reportedly deployed the command's tactical team, led by the Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, to assess the security situation in the area. Odutola said other security agencies that were part of the team visiting the community included the Amotekun Corps, So Safe Corps, local hunters, the Vigilante Group of Nigeria, as well as the Police Community Relations Committee. Odutola added that the traditional ruler of the committee, Oba Ruben Oluwole, who reportedly authorized the allocation of land to the settlers, has been invited for clarification. The command reassured members of the public that proactive intelligence measures remain fully in place and advised citizens to remain calm, vigilant, and avoid sharing unverified information capable of inciting fear. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State on Friday inaugurated 34 blocks comprising 233 housing units at the Abraham Adesanya Housing Estate in Aja, marking another milestone in the state's efforts to expand access to affordable and decent homes. The estate, developed through a public-private partnership between the Lagos State government and Urban Shelter Limited, includes 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments as well as terraces and semi-detached homes. Sanwo-Olu said the project reflected his administration's commitment to increasing the supply of modern homes under the theme's agenda and stressed the need for greater private sector participation in housing delivery to meet the rising demand across all income levels in Lagos. He noted that Lagos, as Nigeria's fastest growing urban center, requires more private sector participation in housing delivery to meet increasing demands across all income categories. The governor said that the state had continued to play its part by providing land, regulatory support, and supervision, while partners provide financing and technical expertise. He said that the government had granted incentives such as a 40% rebate on permits, including environmental impact assessment, tariff impact assessment, and physical planning approvals to encourage developers. Sanwo-Olu, however, warned that the state will not hesitate to review or revoke joint venture projects that fail to meet agreed timelines or quality standards. The Lagos State government has refuted claims circulating online suggesting a rise in kidnapping incidents along the Gbagada Expressway. The report spread through a flyer allegedly issued by the government warned residents of increased abductions and alleged that perpetrators were using the so-called one-chance method and commercial buses to target passengers. The government clarified that the information is false and recycled, urging residents to disregard the flyer, remain vigilant, and rely only on official government and security channels for updates while commuting. Benue State Police Command has rescued 6 children aged between 7 and 9 who were allegedly being trafficked to Anambra State. According to the command spokesperson, DSP Udeme added the children were reportedly taken from Divine Peace and Grace Orphanage in Jos, Plateau State. In a statement released on Friday and made available to journalists in Makurdi, Edet said 3 female suspects were arrested in connection with the trafficking. Edet listed the rescued children as Amanda Chukwujeku, female 8, Choma Maduagu, female 8, Onyechegi Kosisochukwu, female 9, Okonkwo Odinachukwu F, female 9, I beg your pardon, Arizochukwu, male 7, and Oluchukwu Esther, female 9. The PPRO stated that the suspects claimed the children were being transported to Anambra State. Edet further disclosed that 2 suspects linked to stolen motorcycles along George Akome Way, Makurdi, who attempted to escape, were lynched by members of the public before the arrival of the police. He added that several stolen items were recovered when officers arrived at the scene. Recovered items include 11 suspected stolen motorcycles, 47 motorcycle seats, fuel tanks, criminal charms, 3 mattresses, and 1 single-barrel firearm. Edet said the Commissioner of Police, Ifeanyi Emenari, strongly condemned all forms of mob action, describing it as a dangerous trend that obstructs justice, violates fundamental human rights, and sabotages police investigations. The CP urged the public to always hand over suspects to lawful authorities. National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Kano State Strategic Command has arrested no fewer than 230 suspects involved in various drug-related offences and seized large quantities of illicit substances in the state. The commander of the NDLE 8 Kano Strategic Command, Abubakar Ahmad, made this known while briefing newsmen in Kano on Friday. He said the agency recorded major breakthroughs in the fight against drug abuse and related criminal activities during a 30-day intensive operation across the state. He explained that the operation was carried out in collaboration with the Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Nigeria Immigration Service, Nigeria Correctional Service, and the Department of State Services under the Kano State Joint Task Force for Peace, Restoration and Youth Rehabilitation, led by Yusuf Mata. According to Ahmad, the month-long non-stop raid focused on notorious drug hubs such as Kofa Ruwa, Tasharami, Rijiya Lemo, Kona Zage, Dorayi Kashenwaya, Dawanau, Filin Idi, Rimi Market, Zango, Kano Line, Kofa Mata, and other identified hotspots. The NDLA commander further commended the professionalism of all officers involved and urged residents, especially parents, to continue supporting the fight against drug abuse in the state to achieve the desired result. Bauchi State Civil Service Commission has sanctioned 4 senior officers for gross misconduct in the performance of their duties as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen discipline and accountability within the state's civil service. The affected officers are Garba Hussaini, the Director of Education, and the former Provost Haruna Omar, Deputy Director of Administration and Human Resources, Omar Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer Account, Bossa, and others. The officers have been placed on 50% of their salaries from October 28, 2025, pending the conclusion of a full investigation into allegations of misconduct that contravene Bauchi State Public Service regulations. The Commission's decision aims to distance the officers from their duties to ensure a seamless investigation. In a related development, 21 officers have been promoted to the next grade levels, including Deputy Chief Librarians, Assistant Chief Librarians, Principal Librarians, Assistant Chief Executive Officers, and Chief Confidential Secretaries. The Commission reaffirmed its commitments to upholding the rule of law, integrity, transparency, and fairness, while urging civil servants to adhere to regulations and disciplinary procedures to avoid misconduct. Catholic Diocese of Kotangora has condemned the attack on St. Mary's Catholic Primary and Secondary Schools in Papiri, Agwara local government area of Niger State, where armed men reportedly abducted students, teachers in the early hours of Friday. In a statement issued on Friday by the diocesan secretary, Reverend Father Jatao Joseph, the diocese said the assailants invaded the school at midnight, during which security personnel were shot and several members of the school community were taken away. The diocese condemned the attack and expressed deep concern for the safety of the kidnapped children and their families. It says security agencies were immediately informed and have begun coordinated efforts to ensure the safe rescue and return of the victims. The bishop assured the public that the diocese is actively collaborating with security operatives, community leaders, and government authorities to secure the victims' safe return. The diocese appealed for calm, urged the public to support ongoing security operations, and called on everyone to pray for the safe and quick rescue of those abducted. It also reaffirmed its commitment to the protection of children and said further updates would be provided as verified information becomes available. The incident comes days after a similar attack in Maga, Kebbi State, where 25 students were seized, raising concerns about the increasing insecurity in schools across the region. In Kwara State, over 50 schools were shut down on Thursday following bandit attacks. Police and military operatives have been deployed to St. Mary's Private Catholic Secondary School in Niger State to rescue abducted students. The school, located in Papiri, Agwara local government area, was invaded in the early hours of Friday by suspected bandits who reportedly carried away an unconfirmed number of staff and students, most of them girls, to an unknown destination. The Niger State Police Command spokesperson, Wasiu Abiodun confirmed the attack in a statement released on Friday, stating that a combined team of police and military operatives had been deployed to the Papiri to rescue the abducted students. He also noted that measures would be taken against the school management for continuing operations despite the directive from the state government ordering the closure of schools due to security threats. The Nigeria Commissioner of Information and Strategy, Muhammad Idris, who made this known, also said the whereabouts of 3 teachers are unknown. Nasarawa State Police Command has dismissed reports claiming that 2 pupils of St. Peter's Academy, Rukubi in Doma local government area, were abducted, describing the accounts as false and based on unverified rumors. Earlier claims published by some media outlets and blogs suggested that kidnappers had stormed the school during sporting activities, sparking concern on social media. The police command said an unverified alert was received on Friday morning, alleging the abduction of 2 students. In response, the Commissioner of Police, Shetima Dauro Mohammed, deployed a joint team of police and military personnel to the school and surrounding area. The team conducted a thorough search, restored normalcy, and confirmed to the school proprietor that no abduction had occurred. The police command stated that the area continues to be closely monitored to prevent any security breaches and urged the public to disregard the false reports. Journalists and media outlets were also advised to verify information before publication to prevent the spread of misinformation. And you're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. And now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, on his 65th birthday, describing him as a principled reformer and accomplished security professional. In a statement issued on Friday in Abuja by the presidential spokesperson, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, Tinubu lauded Ribadu's integrity and steadfast custodial service to Nigeria. The president recalled Ribadu's pioneering leadership at the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, where he championed accountability and strengthened the nation's anti-corruption framework. Born in Yola, Adamawa State on November 21, 1960, Ribadu was appointed as National Security Advisor by Tinubu on June 19, 2023. He served as the pioneer head of the EFCC from 2003 to 2007, where he led several high-profile investigations and prosecutions of corrupt public officials and fraudsters. He is a recipient of several awards as a police officer, prosecutor, and former chairman of the EFCC. He received the Inspector General of Police Awards in 1997, 1998, and 2000, and a special commendation of the President in 2005 for the successful prosecution of advance fee fraud, banking fraud, and other economic crime cases. Vice President Kashim Shettima has left Abuja to represent President Bola Tinubu at the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. According to a statement by Stanley Nkwota, Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President on Media and Communications, the trip follows President Tinubu's decision to remain in Nigeria to address pressing security concerns. The President had earlier postponed his planned visit to Johannesburg to receive further briefings on recent security incidents in Kebbi and Kwara State. The G20 Summit, scheduled for Saturday, November 22 to Sunday, November 23 at the Johannesburg Expo Center, will convene leaders from the world's top 20 economies alongside representatives from the European Union, African Union, and key financial institutions. President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, who currently chairs the G20, extended the invitation to President Tinubu to participate in this year's summit. The Vice President is expected to return to Nigeria upon the conclusion of the engagement. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has attributed his continued absence from active and partisan politics to his membership in the West African Elders Forum. Jonathan made the remarks in Abuja during an event marking the 10th anniversary of the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation themed Legacy of Impact, Celebrating Our Journey. The occasion also featured a gala dinner in celebration of his 68th birthday. Explaining his political hiatus, Jonathan said membership in the YF comes with a strict condition of non-partisanship. He described the forum as a preventive diplomacy initiative comprising former heads of state who visit countries in the sub-region during elections to mediate and prevent crises arising from poorly managed polls. On the state of the nation, Jonathan decried what he termed rascality in politics, urging politicians to conduct themselves with decorum and responsibility. He noted that unlike professions such as teaching, which requires training and certification, many individuals enter politics and assume leadership positions without proper preparation. Jonathan also expressed deep sorrow over the recent kidnapping of about 25 girls in Kebbi State, recalling the abduction of the Chibok girls during his tenure. He offered condolences to families of those who lost their lives, including a vice principal, and called for prayers for the safe rescue of the abductees and an end to such tragedies. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has condemned the abduction of students and staff at St. Mary's Catholic School in Papiri, Agwara local government area of Niger State, describing the incident as truly heartbreaking. Reacting on X on Friday to a newspaper report of the attack, Atiku asked how many more lives must be shattered before this decisive action is taken. He further urged the federal government to declare a state of emergency on insecurity and confront the menace with the urgency it deserves. Tension grips the community after armed men reportedly struck the Catholic school between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. on Friday, abducting an unconfirmed number of students and staff. ATM reports that sources within the Catholic Church in Niger State confirmed the raid, but said the exact number of victims was still being determined. According to the Niger State government, the school had resumed operations despite the prior closure order, a decision they said exposed students and staff to risk. Security office forces, including police and military personnel, have since been deployed to the area to carry out rescue operations. The Catholic Diocese of Kontagora has also condemned the attack, calling for swift and decisive action to secure the missing persons. The raid comes just days after a similar attack in Maga, Kebbi State, where 25 students were abducted from the girls' boarding school. Minister of State for Education Shuaiba Ahmad has explained that the federal government's decision to discontinue the use of indigenous languages as a mode of teaching and learning in schools. The move comes after assessments showed that the policy was not achieving the desired educational outcomes. Ahmad clarified that the decision is not a rejection of Nigeria's cultural heritage, but a measure to ensure students gain proficiency in English, the country's official language. This, she noted, is crucial for students as they prepare for national examinations and future employment where English remains the standard medium. The ministry has developed a training program aimed at improving foundational literacy and numeracy skills. Teachers will be trained to enhance reading and learning outcomes, while the curriculum will be streamlined to focus on essential subjects and reduce content overload, ensuring students develop key learning skills rather than just covering material. The policy follows the 2025 approval by the Federal Executive Council of the National Language Policy, which had made the use of mother tongues compulsory for primary 1 to 6. While the policy was intended to promote Nigeria's diverse languages, its implementation proved challenging, prompting the government to revise the approach for more effective learning outcomes. National Universities Commission has expressed serious concern over the increasing misuse of honorary doctorate degrees by Nigerian universities and unaccredited institutions across the country. Professor Abdullahi Ribadu, NUC's Executive Secretary, disclosed the findings on Friday in Abuja while presenting the results of an investigation into the awards and public misuse of honorary doctorate degrees. According to the report, the inquiry, which has examined 61 institutions and professional bodies, uncovered deeply concerning practices, including the indiscriminate conferment of honorary degrees and awarding of fake professorships. Professor Ribadu warned that recipients of honorary doctorates must not use the title doctor as part of their names, noting that such titles are strictly reserved for holders of PhDs or medical degrees. He further stated that honorary degree holders are prohibited from practicing as scholars, supervising research, or managing administrative units. The NUC boss emphasized that the awarding of honorary degrees is a legal responsibility of Nigerian universities alone, and the Commission has the mandate to regulate both the award and use. The investigation follows the work of a 5-member committee chaired by NUC visiting professor and former Ahmadu Bello University Vice Chancellor Kabiru Bala. The panel was set up to examine the politicization and public misuse of honorary doctorate degrees and propose ethical guidelines and best practices for their awarding and regulation. Nigerian Navy has assured Nigerians of safer waterways and ahead of the Christmas season as travel and maritime activity increase. This confidence was demonstrated during Exercise Dimengi, a 3-day maritime security operation under the Eastern Naval Command. The drill featured real-time simulations of threats such as piracy, drug trafficking, and vessel hijacking, with coordinated responses involving the Navy, Army, Air Force, NDLEA, and other agencies. During operation, a vessel carrying hard drugs was intercepted offshore, while Special Boat Service commandos successfully executed the simulated rescue of a hijacked ship with support from air surveillance assets. The Navy described the exercise as evidence of strengthened interagency cooperation and improved operational readiness. Flagged off aboard NNS Shere, the operation reinforced the command's commitment to professionalism, readiness, and collaboration. The Navy maintained that secure waters are critical to economic stability and vowed to sustain surveillance patrols throughout and beyond the festive period. Independent National Electoral Commission on Friday disowned a letter circulated on social media claiming that this commission had issued a directive on the outcome of the People's Democratic Party National Working Committee meeting and the postponement of the Ekiti State Congress and Governorship primary. According to INEC, the document dated November 10, 2025 was falsely attributed to the Secretary to the Commission. The electoral body said the public should dismiss this document, describing it as fabricated and criminal. INEC further disclosed that initial checks showed that the signature of the Secretary to the Commission was forged. Warning political parties, the media, and the public to ignore the document, INEC condemned the circulation of false information. Eta Messe described the act as a deliberate attempt to mislead Nigerians. INEC also cautioned individuals involved in such activities. The Commission said it is working with security agencies to track down those responsible. National Association of Nigerian Students has raised alarm over escalating attacks on schools, saying they threaten the safety of students and the nation's education system. Recent incidents include the abduction of 25 schoolgirls in Kebbi State, where a vice principal was killed, and an attack on St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State. NANS described these as deliberate assaults aimed at disrupting education and forcing students to choose between learning and personal safety. The association urged the federal government and security agencies to adopt proactive intelligence-led measures, invest in surveillance and community protection, and prioritize the rescue and reintegration of abducted students. NANS stressed that the future of Nigerian education cannot be surrendered to violence. NANS also called on communities, parents, and educational institutions to remain vigilant and support collaborative efforts with security agencies to safeguard schools, emphasizing that the fight against insecurity requires a coordinated national response. And now to some business news. Nigeria's treasury bills market recorded a significant surge in investor appetite on Wednesday November 19, 2025, with demand for the 364-day paper rising sharply above the government's offer. Data from the latest auction released by the Central Bank of Nigeria showed that stop rates across all three tenors, night 1 day, 182 day, and 364 day, remain unchanged at 15.30%, despite the continued decline in inflation, which eased to 16.5% in October. Still, investors showed strong interest, particularly in the long-term bill, where subscriptions surpassed 1.2 trillion naira compared to the 450 billion naira offered by the CBN. Although stop rates were stable, the true yields remained attractive, standing at 15.9% for the 91-day tenor, 16.8% for the 182-day, and 19.1% for the 364-day bill, according to Wednesday's T-bills data. Analysts said the persistent rush for the longer-dated instrument highlights investors' strategy to secure current higher yields ahead of the anticipated easing of interest rates in 2026. With liquidity remaining strong and yields still appealing, Treasury bills are expected to stay a major investment destination for both institutional and retail investors in the near term. ATL reports that only days earlier, the Apex Bank directed that all Treasury bills auction submissions must now be routed through this S4 electronic interface, a move aimed at tightening control and enhancing transparency in the market. Central Bank of Nigeria has called for caution in handling Naira notes, describing the currency as an essential national symbol. The appeal was made on Thursday in Awka during a fair organized under the theme Driving Alternative Payments Channels as Tools for Financial Inclusion, Growth and Accelerated Economic Development. The warning comes ahead of the Yuletide season, a period often marked by social events that can lead to the misuse of Naira notes through spraying, mutilation, and other improper handling. The acting director of the Corporate Communications Department, Mrs. Akama Sidi Ali, highlighted the need for responsible handling of the currency, while the branch controller of the CBN in Awka, Mr. Akobondo Onwuchekwa, represented by Dr. Onyema Kono Ogbe, explained that the fair aimed to sensitize the public on the bank's policies and ongoing initiatives. Lagos State Government and the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry have called for increased investment in Nigeria's power sector to support decentralization, improve competition, and strengthen energy security for homes and businesses. Power sector stakeholders at the LCCI Power Sector Conference held in Lagos warned that decentralization would not deliver results unless the government and the private sector committee fresh capital to upgrade aging infrastructure, expand generation capacity, and modernize distribution networks. Lagos State Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources, Biodun Ogunleye, said the country had entered a defining moment in its energy transition, stressing that decentralization under the Electricity Act had shifted the conversation from possibilities to delivery. Ogunleye, represented by the Chief Technical Officer, Ogunade Hamad, stated that Lagos acted early to build a decentralized electricity market, but insisted that more investment was needed to upgrade infrastructure and sustain reforms. You're still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. President of the Economic Community of West African States Commission, Omar Torre, has warned that the rising wave of terrorism across West Africa and the Sahel has reached a level that threatens the very survival of the region. Torre delivered the warning while briefing the United Nations Security Council during its 10,047th meeting in regional counter-terrorism efforts. According to a statement issued by the ECOWAS Commission on Friday, the briefing focused on the escalating insecurity and the steps being taken to confront it. Torre told the council that the terrorists were now waging what he described as economic warfare, explaining that they were increasingly disrupting fuel supplies and trade routes across member states. The president noted that this poses an existential threat to both Sahelian and coastal West African states. The statement further read that Torre outlined a range of ongoing ECOWAS initiatives aimed at restoring stability, including rebuilding trust and advancing political dialogue with former member states, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, which recently exited the bloc. He also noted efforts to tackle the socio-economic factors that fuel violent extremism. International Committee of the Red Cross announced on Friday that it will cut its 2026 budget by 17% due to the declining donor contributions, a move that will result in thousands of job losses across its global operations. The organization approved a budget of 1.8 billion Swiss francs for next year, even as global conflicts and humanitarian needs continue to rise. The ICRC warned that it is operating in a period marked by expanding wars, shrinking aid contributions, and increasing violations of international humanitarian law. The global aid funding crisis has been worsened by major donors pulling back, most notably the United States, which has sharply reduced foreign and since President Donald Trump returned to office. Other donor nations are also redirecting resources toward defense. With a smaller budget, the ICRC says it will focus on maintaining operations in the most critical conflict zones, including Sudan, Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, Ukraine, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The organization stressed that humanitarian needs far exceed available resources, but remains committed to staying on the front lines of conflict. Taiwan has lifted all remaining restrictions on food imports from Japan, marking another show of support for Tokyo amid tensions with China. Previously, Taipei had imposed a blanket ban on food imports from 5 Japanese regions affected by the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster, easing some restrictions in 2022 and 2024. The Taiwan Food and Drug Administration announced on Friday that Japanese food safety management measures have now returned to normal with immediate effect, following Taiwan's decision. Only China, Hong Kong, Macau, Russia, and South Korea continue to maintain specific import controls on Japanese food products. The announcement comes amid a diplomatic row triggered by remarks from Japan's new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, suggesting Tokyo could intervene militarily if Taiwan were attacked. China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory, has threatened force to bring the self-ruled island under its control. In a show of support for Japan, images of Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te holding a plate of sushi circulated on social media. Lai, known for defending Taiwan's sovereignty, accused Beijing of severely affecting regional peace, while China's foreign ministry dismissed his post as a stunt. Here now is ATN Sports News. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has confirmed that defender Gabriel will be sidelined for several weeks after sustaining a thigh injury while playing for Brazil during the international break. The 27-year-old limped off during the match against Senegal and is expected to miss the upcoming Premier League clash against Tottenham, as well as fixtures against Bayern Munich and Chelsea. Arteta described the injury as a significant setback for the team, highlighting Gabriel's importance as a leader in Arsenal's defensive lineup. The manager noted that while the absence is challenging, the squad has capable alternative who will need to step up in his place. Further scans are scheduled to assess the full extent of the injury before determining the exact timeline for his return. Nigeria defender Ola Aina is nearing a return to action after his injury layoff. Aina was pictured in training at Nottingham Forest's training ground on Thursday for the first time since undergoing surgery for a hamstring injury in September. The 29-year-old sustained the injury during Nigeria's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying match 8 clash with Bafana of South Africa. The fullback hobbled off the pitch in the 10th minute of the encounter. Aina is expected to join team training in the coming days. His return will be a big boost for the three key trees who have enjoyed a poor start to the new season. Barcelona coach Hansi Flick has confirmed that young forward Lamine Yamal is set to return for the club's upcoming La Liga fixture after benefiting from a 2-week rest during the international break. The break allowed Yamal to recover physically and mentally, and Flick expressed satisfaction with the youngster's sharpness and improved performance levels in trainings. His return comes as a timely boost for Barcelona ahead of a crucial run of fixtures in the league and in Europe. Flick also provided updates on other key squad members. Rafinha has fully regained fitness and will be available from the bench as the coaching staff carefully manages his playing time. Pedri is continuing his recovery on a gradual schedule, and his availability for Barcelona's upcoming match against Chelsea remains uncertain. With Yamal back in contention and Rafinha nearing full involvement, Barcelona aim to sustain momentum in La Liga while preparing for a demanding stretch of domestic and Champions League matches. And now entertainment news. Nigerian actress Toyin Abraham has expressed deep concern over the country's worsening security situation following a series of violent incidents across several states. ATN reports that 3 people were killed and an unspecified number of worshippers abducted during a church program in Eruku, Ekiti local government area of Kwara State on Tuesday evening. The incident occurred just hours after 25 secondary school girls were kidnapped in Kebbi State on Monday, November 17, 2025. In a related development, terrorists also invaded a Catholic school in Niger State, abducting both students and staff. These attacks have sparked widespread public concern, with some celebrities calling for President Bola Tinubu's resignation over perceived failures in protecting Nigerian lives. Toyin Abraham joined other public figures in raising awareness about the impact of such violent acts on families and communities. She highlighted the fear and trauma experienced by mothers and families in the face of terrorism and religious extremism, noting how these attacks disrupt daily life, undermine undermine the sense of safety and threaten the innocence of children. The actress's comments reflect a growing sentiment among Nigerians who are calling for urgent measures to address insecurity and protect the nation's citizens from ongoing threats. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Christ Compassion Crusade, hashtag This is Selfless Love, promises life transformation. Nasarawa police denies reports of kidnapping at St. Peter's Academy. Vice President Shetima departs for G20 summit in South Africa. CBN calls for careful Naira use during festive season. ECOWAS sounds alarm over growing West Africa terrorism. Mikel Arteta confirms Gabriel out for several weeks. Actress Toyin Abraham voices concern over Nigeria's growing insecurity. I am Favor Chikwesri Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on social media platforms on Twitter now X at Atlantic TV Net, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. To have a pleasant night rest.